Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we stop treating source material like a reading list and start, well, treating it like a treasure map.
Exactly. We're digging in to find those essential nuggets of knowledge you need.
And today, wow, we are diving deep into a cultural phenomenon that has absolutely transcended sports, entertainment, and I think just pure nostalgia.
We are.
We are talking about the final curtain call for one of the biggest, most polarizing, and at the end of the day, most respected global stars of the last generation. We are talking about John Cena.
It's a monumental discussion, and the sources you've provided are honestly brilliant.
They're great, aren't they?
We have a fantastic mix here. We're not just looking at wrestling journalism. We're bringing in critical analysis from the BBC, looking at how true sporting greats handle their final act alongside some incredibly raw, emotional, and, often quite funny fan commentary from all over the internet.
Yeah, that really gives us the complete picture of just how much this moment weighs on people.
It does.
So our mission, really, is to get to the heart of this huge moment. This isn't just about a wrestling match scheduled for next week.
No, not at all.
It's about analyzing what Cena's career, what this overwhelming emotional fan response, and what the immediate implications for WWE's future actually mean.
It's the end of an era.
It is, and we need to understand the architectural design of that ending.
Precisely. We are talking about the final scheduled bout on Saturday, December 13th, 2025. It's happening in Washington, D.C.
And this is where John Cena, the face of the company for, 20 years?
So long. He is set to face the ring general, Gunther. And if this holds true, that date marks the planned end of an almost 25-year career. It is, by any measure, absolutely massive.
Okay, let's unpack the staggering numbers first, because, the career statistics alone tell an incredible story of just longevity and dominance.
They do.
Our sources confirm he is now officially a 17-time world champion.
And that number, 17, it's so critical because it's a direct reference to history, isn't it?
It is. It moves him past Ric Flair.
It definitively moves him past the previous historical benchmark, cementing his status in the history books as the most decorated champion in the promotion's history.
And we have to note, that 17th win, the one that broke the record, that was at WrestleMania 41.
Right. He didn't just quietly bow out. He went and secured one final major record on the biggest stage.
It stunned me to realize that in this final year, he wasn't just doing, exhibition matches.
No, he was competing.
He picked up 2 major championships, the world title for the 17th time and the Intercontinental title. That is an unbelievable commitment to going out on the highest possible note.
It speaks volumes about his professional mentality, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But as the source material rightly points out, we have to immediately address what the industry calls the pair of elephants in the room.
And you have to do this whenever you discuss a WWE retirement.
Always.
And these elephants are, well, they're enormous hurdles for any credible discussion. The first one is the nature of the industry itself.
Right.
We have to acknowledge it is sports entertainment. So, choreographed, performance-based, rather than a traditional competitive sport.
But the sources are so quick to confirm that the athleticism involved is, and I'm quoting here, second to none. The physical demands are just brutal.
Of course, you can't diminish the toll this takes on the human body, regardless of whether the outcome is predetermined.
Exactly. But that second elephant is perhaps the more pressing issue for the fans, and I suppose for us as analysts.
Which is, can a WWE retirement ever truly be considered genuine?
That's the one. History, unfortunately, suggests fans should probably maintain a healthy dose of skepticism.
Oh, absolutely. When you look at the precedents, legends like Shawn Michaels, Trish Stratus, AJ Lee, even Stone Cold Steve Austin.
All of them.
They've all called time on their careers, often with these incredibly emotional send-offs, only to step back inside the squared circle at least one more time, sometimes years later.
It's almost a running gag, isn't it?
It is.
The idea of a retirement match often turns out to be more of a temporary vacation, usually spurred on by a massive financial offer or a really compelling storyline.
So for the informed listener, this historical pattern makes Cena's current declaration inherently a bit suspect.
You'd think so.
But hold on, doesn't Cena's current situation sort of challenge that premise? The source insists that this match against Gunther will be his final honest retirement.
And the reason given.
Specifically because he is focusing full-time on his television and movie work. It feels like a very practical, almost corporate decision driven by his external success.
And that's where he differs from his predecessors, you're right. That's the crux of why this retirement feels different.
How so?
Well, Cena's status in Hollywood leading major franchises, television shows, it means he has far less incentive, financially or professionally, to risk injury by coming back to the ring.
Compared to a wrestler whose primary income stream is the WWE.
Precisely. The money required to pull him back would have to be astronomical, and the time commitment needed is just incompatible with his film schedule. That pragmatic reality is the counterpoint to the historical trend.
So his acting success is, ironically, the strongest indicator that this retirement might actually stick.
I think so, yes.
Let's look at how he engineered this final chapter then, this retirement tour of 2025.
He was incredibly deliberate about it. He announced back in 2024 that 2025 would be his last year, which set the clock ticking immediately.
Right, which allowed the company to craft a comprehensive farewell that maximized his exposure all over the world.
And as you noted, he's been wildly successful during this tour, winning both the WWE Championship and the Intercontinental Championship.
Talk about peak performance planning. But here's where the narrative took a sharp, surprising, and frankly brilliant turn.
The heel turn.
The heel turn. He briefly turned heel, the wrestling term for a villain or a bad guy, for the first time in his career during this final year.
Which, for Cena, who had spent over 20 years as the pristine, heroic face of the company, was a shocking, calculated risk.
It was a massive narrative pivot, and it's so important to understand the weight of that. Cena's entire brand was built on hustle, loyalty, respect.
It was.
To suddenly flip that script and embrace villainy injected immediate, dramatic, and, much-needed tension back into his final appearances.
It also allowed him to explore a side of his character that, let's be honest, fans had been demanding to see for a decade.
Absolutely. And that brief heel run seems to have really stuck with fans and analysts. There was that comment we saw referencing SmackDown in Lexington, KY, where heel Cena delivered a promo claiming he was a 5-year ahead super genius.
I loved that.
Yeah.
It suggests that even the controversial, villainous version of Cena resonated because it showed a depth and an unexpected strategy that just thrilled the core audience.
It elevated the storytelling from simple nostalgia to, high drama. But now that he's reverted to the beloved hero for this definitive final match, we have to address one of the most sacred, unwritten laws in professional wrestling.
The passing the torch tradition.
This is critical for the long-term health of the promotion, isn't it?
It's everything. The expectation is that a retiring competitor, especially one of Cena's immense stature, is supposed to lose their final match.
To a younger, rising star.
Yes. It's a symbolic transfer of power and momentum. It's the ultimate act of selflessness, where the departing legend uses their immense spotlight to elevate the next generation.
It tells the audience, this person beat me, the greatest, so they are now truly illegitimate.
Exactly that.
So the writers are facing a massive ethical and business dilemma here. The narrative tension boils down to this. Will Cena adhere to tradition by losing to Gunther?
Thus instantly making Gunther an undisputed, unstoppable main event force.
Or will his final act be a triumphant, victorious send-off, as so many devoted fans seem to passionately desire? They just want their childhood hero to retire by winning the match.
And that's the choice. It's between satisfying nostalgia for the current audience versus investing in the future star power of the company. A win for Cena is a brilliant, emotional send-off that ends the story perfectly.
But a win for Gunther is the messy, necessary business of ensuring the company thrives in the post-Cena era. It's a fascinating dilemma for the creative team to navigate.
It really is.
That question, the pull between tradition and the perfect storybook ending, is precisely why that BBC bite-sized article on sporting exits is such a useful piece of context here.
Absolutely. It lets us step outside the choreographed world of wrestling and analyze Cena's meticulously scheduled retirement against the, often chaotic, controversial, or poignant exits of major figures in traditional sports.
It gives us a critical, analytical perspective on the emotional weight of a star retiring, doesn't it? It helps us gauge what kind of retirement story is truly the most enduring.
Let's start with the controversial exit. The one that still sparks pub debates decades later. Zinedine Zidane.
Oh, Zidane's farewell was certainly not neat. You're talking about one of the greatest footballers of all time who'd already announced the 2006 World Cup final against Italy would be his last ever match.
Right. This wasn't retirement due to injury. This was a planned exit on the biggest stage imaginable.
And he nearly clinched it perfectly. He gave France the lead with a Panenka penalty kick, a moment of just sublime nerve.
The game goes into extra time, the tension is unbearable, and then with just a few minutes left in his professional career, he loses control.
He delivers that infamous headbutt to Marco Materazzi in response to an insult about his sister, gets a red card. It was a spectacular, almost theatrical collapse of control at the very end.
And his final action as a professional athlete wasn't celebrating, but just forlornly walking past the World Cup trophy on his way to the dressing room.
He didn't get to finish the match, France lost on penalties, and his entire retirement narrative is framed by that single, controversial, and deeply emotional moment of defiance and failure.
And that speaks directly to the question of legacy. Is a messy, deeply human, memorable exit preferable to a neat, predictable one?
It's a great question. Zidane's exit was devastating, but its complexity makes it one of the most talked about retirements in history.
So could a Cena win, defying the passing the torch rule, be his own form of Zidane moment? A controversial, maybe selfish, yet ultimately memorable end.
That's a brilliant comparison. If Cena wins, he's delivering a headbutt to wrestling tradition, sacrificing future goodwill for immediate personal triumph.
Okay, let's swing entirely the other way then. Let's look at the perfect script-like anti-Zidane ending. Stuart Broad in the 2023 Ashes.
This was the ultimate storybook farewell, the one every athlete dreams of, though so few ever actually achieve it.
Broad, a legendary test wicket-taker, announces his retirement midway through the final test. The stakes are huge. English is trying to level the series against Australia.
The setting was already perfect. And then the script just wrote itself. The following morning, he and James Anderson were given a guard of honor by the Australians.
A lovely, respectful touch.
But Broad wasn't just there for the ceremony. When he was batting, his final ever-faced delivery in Test cricket, he hits a colossal six.
Incredible. He delivered a massive high note with the bat and then walked off to rapturous applause.
And the bowling finish was even more cinematic. England needed one more wicket to secure the Test win and draw the series. A tiring Broad summons one final, desperate effort.
And with his last ever delivery, he forces Alex Carey to nick the ball behind to the wicketkeeper. His career ended flawlessly. A six from his final ball faced, and a wicket from his last ever delivery to seal the victory.
Just perfect. Now, in wrestling, that kind of flawless scripting is entirely possible, even expected. But does Cena need that level of perfection? Is a perfect storybook ending like Broad's even possible or even desirable for a star whose legacy includes years of polarizing audience reaction?
It sets an impossible bar. If Cena loses, the legacy remains secure. If he wins, he gets the Broad ending, but he sacrifices the narrative future. It's a trade-off.
And we also have the examples of ending on the absolute peak, which is epitomized by the Lionesses Jill Scott and Ellen White.
This is the retirement where you walk away with the gold still around your neck, having achieved the ultimate collective goal.
Exactly. Both Scott and White retired immediately after winning the Euro 2022 trophy for the Lionesses, ending England's decades-long wait for a major international honor.
They retired at the zenith of their success. Their final cap, Scott's won in 61st and White's won in 13th, was a gold medal win. They joined a tiny elite pool of English footballers with a major international honor.
They proved they could still deliver on the biggest stage, and they chose that exact moment to stop.
So in Cena's context, he has already achieved this statistical peak, winning that 17th world title at WrestleMania 41. He has already won championships in 2025.
Which raises a crucial analytical question, doesn't it? Is a final win against Gunther actually necessary for his peak exit, or did he already hit it with that 17th title win earlier in the year?
That's spot on. He's achieved the statistical pinnacle. The Gunther match is arguably just the final punctuation mark. A symbolic loss won't erase the titles he collected earlier in his final year.
So it's an opportunity to give back, not necessarily to gain more glory.
Exactly. But then we look at the other extreme, the defiant end, exemplified by the fastest man on the planet, Usain Bolt.
His career was built on seemingly effortless dominance and charisma, but his retirement in the 2017 World Championships did not deliver that perfect final chapter.
No, it was brutal. A reminder of the fragility of the human body. He was suffering from hamstring issues all season, and he finished only third in the individual 100-meter final.
And his absolute final race was the 4x100-meter relay, where he took the final leg.
And seconds after taking the baton, his hamstring failed him entirely. He just crashed down onto the track in agony. It was a physical, public failure on the grandest scale.
But his final action was so profoundly defiant and, in its own way, heroic.
He refused the offer of a wheelchair, opting instead to hobble over the finish line with his teammates, acknowledging the crowd one last time.
It was retirement on his own terms, regardless of the physical failure.
Which provides a compelling parallel for Cena. He is retiring not because of injury or physical failure in the ring. He's still performing at a high level.
He's retiring because his external career in Hollywood requires it. He is choosing to exit on his own terms, forcing his body to retire now before it truly fails him later.
So, when we connect all these disparate sporting exits back to John Cena facing Gunther, the creative team has choices informed by these precedents.
Right. Will it be a broad, perfect storybook exit written flawlessly?
Or a Zidane controversial emotional exit if he wins and rejects tradition.
Or, and this feels most likely, a necessary bolt end, allowing him to hobble away from the ring gracefully and focus entirely on Hollywood.
And that's the narrative way. The WWE, being entertainment, has the ability to write a perfect broad ending. But they often choose the emotional complexity of the Zidane moment or the necessity of the bolt transition.
And the choice they make ultimately dictates the scale and legitimacy of Gunther's legacy moving forward.
Speaking of emotional complexity, the lead-up to this match has been absolutely dominated by the raw, overwhelming fan response.
Especially after that tribute video package that WWE aired.
Oh, absolutely. Our sources are full of fans just, well, completely losing it.
It's a remarkable cultural moment, and we have to give credit where it's due. There's a consistent consensus amongst the fans that WWE always gets production and video packages consistently right.
They were masters of cinematic nostalgia, aren't they? They understood how crucial this final emotional core had to be.
They certainly nailed the atmosphere here. Fans instantly recognized and latched onto the song choice, Sweet Disposition by the Temper Trap.
They noted that it was also used in the 500 Days of Summer trailer and immediately predicted that this song will now always remind me of him.
It's been instantly cemented as part of the soundtrack of Cena's farewell. It is the perfect sort of melancholic backing track for the end of youth.
It is.
And the emotional outpouring online, which we've captured, is just intense. We see classic reactions like, not a dry eye in the room, and the common denial, I'm not crying, you are.
But the depth of connection goes far beyond simple nostalgia. One fan wrote quite simply, "My childhood dies Saturday."
That kind of comment is so powerful because it illustrates that Cena's career provided this constant fixture during a formative period in their lives.
But there's a truly powerful comment that elevates this analysis beyond just youthful reflection. One fan shared something profoundly personal.
Go on.
I watched all three of my children be born live and in person. Not a single tear was shed. The same cannot be said about this video.
Wow. That is a staggering juxtaposition. It sets the manufactured professional emotion of a tribute video against a profound, real-world emotional event.
And it shows the genuine cultural significance Cena holds for that generation. It reveals that the emotions are real, even if the action is choreographed.
Absolutely. Another fan articulated this sense of loss by noting that Cena's career paralleled their own adulthood.
They compared his retirement to the simultaneous retirement of 3 major Indian cricket stars in 2024.
Right. For them, his departure felt like the sudden end of their youth, stating, I am left with my middle-aged life with no idol to love. It's the closing of a 20-year chapter in their personal history.
Heavy stuff.
It is. Okay, let's turn to the specific inclusions and, maybe more importantly, the strategic absences in that tribute video, because that's where the critical fan discussion really exploded.
The inclusions were fascinating, particularly the surprise appearances. Seeing Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman, and Wade Barrett showing up shocked a lot of people.
Barrett's appearance was especially notable, wasn't it? Fans recalled the reported past beef and tension between Barrett and Cena.
They did. And the fan analysis of those inclusions was particularly astute. One fan suggested, you make peace with your enemies, not your friends.
Which implies that Cena had to earn the respect of those who actively fought against him, the rivals who disliked him professionally.
Which makes their tribute even more meaningful than one from a loyal ally.
That is high-level storytelling analysis right there. It highlights respect earned rather than loyalty given.
However, the fan frustration was equally intense over the notable absences.
The Viper. Randy Orton, he was the biggest omission mentioned.
Without a doubt.
Fans lamented the lack of his presence in the video, given that their careers were intertwined for 2 decades. The immediate speculation was that Orton would appear on the day of the match to help Cena win.
And that speculative angle is highly credible, considering Orton's deep history with Cena and his more recent feuds with Gunther.
Then, of course, there was The Rock. Dwayne Johnson. His absence was heavily noted.
One fan connected it to speculation about his commitments, maybe his Saturday night's main event appearance. But another fan delivered a very sharp-tongued comment.
Oh, I remember this one.
Suggesting The Rock was Too busy finally learning how to actually act.
Ouch. That's a bit spicy, isn't it? But you can sense the deep-seated disappointment that the two biggest stars of their era couldn't manage to share one final moment in that video package.
Absolutely. And we can't forget the absence of foundational figures like Vince McMahon. Cena is widely considered his creation, the poster child for the PG era he championed.
And Nikki Bella. Her absence was also discussed due to their long, very public relationship and subsequent breakup.
These omissions are as important as the inclusions. They define the scope of the final story being told.
Now, moving back to those who were included, there was specific praise for the heel who showed respect, Drew McIntyre.
Fans absolutely loved Drew's segment. They praised him for staying in character until the last second, by initially just saying no, a perfect villain response.
Before finally showing a moment of genuine, albeit grudging, respect for Cena.
That commitment to narrative nuance, even in a tribute, earned high praise from the wrestling community.
But despite the emotional production quality of the video, the fan base wasn't universally satisfied with the overall execution of the retirement tour.
No, there were serious critiques that the journey to the final match felt a bit forced.
A significant number of fans felt the tour itself was fumbled, and the final match felt like complete boobs, with one comment referencing the confusing tournament thing that led to the match stipulation.
The core complaint was a desire for a proper, sustained story and a more emotionally resonant opponent over Gunther.
And the unexpected opponent fans were clamoring for.
The comedic perennial underdog, R-Truth.
This is crucial for understanding fan sentiment. There was incredibly strong support for R-Truth to have been the final opponent.
And they noted that creatives had dropped Truth completely and only rehired him after intense fan pressure.
But why Truth? I mean, he's an established comedic mid-carder, whereas Gunther is the prestigious, legitimate main eventer.
That's the emotional logic. The fans wanted the comedic, full-circle payoff with Truth, who represents the heart, the humor, and the sheer joy of the roster.
So a match against Truth would have been a celebration of fun and friendship, a nostalgic, low-pressure, high-heart moment.
Rather than the predictable main event standard-bearer matchup against Gunther, which is all about narrative strength and the future.
It shows the disconnect, doesn't it? They wanted an emotional hug, and the company gave them a prestigious handshake.
That's a great way to put it. Yet, amidst all the disappointment and tears, there was a powerful counter-argument that summarized Cena's enduring legacy.
The character evolution we touched on earlier.
Exactly. That transformation is the key to his status. One fan praised Cena's journey from an edgy thug heel, recalling the Thuganomics days in 2003 and hearing things Cena can't get away with today.
To a universally respected megastar. This emphasizes that he chose to become the face of the company, a massive strategic change that required years and years of consistency.
And that fan concluded that Cena has transcended wrestling into pure culture, alongside icons like Hogan, Rock, and Austin.
Which suggests that even if the final year felt creatively flawed, the overall legacy is untouchable because he navigated that profound shift so successfully.
It's a remarkable achievement in professional character management. He took the criticism, he absorbed the boos, and he just kept working, refusing to change his moral compass until eventually the audience respected the commitment, even if they didn't always love the character.
So let's pivot now to the immediate, tangible impact. The focus is squarely on the man who will stand across the ring from Cena, Gunther. Cena is set to lose, following that pivotal passing the torch tradition. But what exactly are the wider implications of that result for the current WWE landscape?
If Gunther wins, as is commonly expected, his stock immediately rises immensely. He achieves something that has immediate historical significance.
He doesn't just beat Cena.
No. He retires the GOAT, the greatest of all time, statistically speaking.
That victory instantly cements his status not just as a top champion, but as a dominant, unstoppable, era-defining force.
It is perhaps the biggest accolade any active wrestler can achieve right now, and it immediately sets him up as the defining figure of the post-Cena era.
Exactly. Gunther, as the ring general, already projects this sense of legitimacy and brutal efficiency.
Retiring Cena adds the narrative weight of historical importance to that legitimacy. He becomes the man who closed the book on the last great era.
That is the ultimate narrative boost for the company's future planning. But the fans, ever the passionate speculators, have already charted alternative paths based on this outcome.
Specifically looping back to the beloved R-Truth.
Right, that's where the R-Truth speculation takes on a new emotional dimension. The theory is that if Gunther retires Cena, it could set up R-Truth going after Gunther for retiring his childhood hero.
And this wouldn't be a serious championship feud, would it? It'd be a deeply emotional, comedic revenge story.
Leading eventually to a retirement match between Gunther and Truth down the line.
That's clever writing. It's a way to keep the emotional threads of Cena's departure running through the main roster, even in his absence, by using R-Truth as the emotional proxy for the grieving fanbase.
It keeps the nostalgia alive while pushing the new star, Gunther, as the necessary villain.
And it connects that deep emotional investment of the audience back into a future storyline, ensuring Cena's departure isn't just a dead end.
But now for the biggest, most enduring question, the true cliffhanger that defines modern wrestling analysis.
Will Cena truly retire?
The sources are full of fans heavily questioning this, citing WWE's history of hyping last matches only for the wrestler to return.
It's almost a given that in wrestling, the word retirement means extended holiday, pending future storyline necessity. It's the constant risk of that genuine elephant in the room.
That historical skepticism is entirely warranted. However, the counterpoint here, which the sources highlight, is the very real strength of Cena's external career.
He has too much going on away from WWE to need to come back for the grueling, full-time schedule.
And that pragmatic reality is what makes this retirement feel more honest than many others. The general sentiment among those analyzing his career suggests that he might, perhaps, accept a guest ref spot at a Mania, or a single non-physical hosting role.
But the prospect of another match seems remote, because the financial and schedule demands just outweigh the payoff. He's retired for the same reason Usain Bolt had to stop running.
The body, or in Cena's case, the career schedule, simply won't permit the continued high-level performance. Yet despite this pragmatism, there are still those who believe this final match, even against Gunther, won't be without some unscripted or at least unannounced drama.
The possibility of Randy Orton showing up to help Cena win is a massive talking point.
It's the rivalry that defined an era. Orton appearing, saving his old rival from defeat, and denying Gunther the final accolade would be a huge narrative explosion.
Even if it completely undermines the passing the torch tradition.
The fan desire for that moment is palpable because it brings closure to the Cena-Orton story as much as it defines the Cena-Gunther match.
But the fans' greatest hope, the enduring yearning for a final cinematic showdown, still rests with the biggest fish of all.
The Rock.
It's the ultimate fan fantasy. The desire for a proper story with The Rock as the final opponent persists.
With some even suggesting The Rock comes out after the Gunther match for the real main event set at a future WrestleMania.
It's the blockbuster finale that fans feel they were robbed of by this meticulously scheduled retirement.
It speaks to the scale of Cena's star power that fans are already demanding a follow-up match after the supposed final one. But regardless of the speculation, we have to acknowledge the scale of the void being left behind in the WWE roster.
Absolutely. There's a profound recognition among fans that this retirement really hits different when you realize what era is ending.
The emotional connection is so strong that one fan stated bluntly, "Once the John Cena retirement tour ends, I'm done."
And that highlights the immense gap in star power the company faces. Cena didn't just carry the company. He defined an entire generation's engagement with wrestling.
He provided a gravitational center for their enthusiasm. His departure is the loss of more than just a talent. It's the loss of a major cultural anchor.
What a monumental emotional deep dive this has been.
It really has.
We've seen that the stakes are incredibly high for this final match, not just in terms of the outcome, but in shaping the narrative for the company for the next decade.
It's abundantly clear that whether one loved or passionately hated John Cena during his 2-decade run, and there were years where the boos were deafening, you now absolutely respect him. The sources brilliantly contrasted the planned, meticulous nature of this WWE exit with the often chaotic or poignant exits of sporting legends.
But the emotional output from the fans suggests this planned farewell is still a tidal wave of grief and nostalgia. The scale of his influence is undeniable.
The fan comments, the wrestler tributes, the fact that Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman acknowledged him, it all shows the magnitude of the legacy he leaves behind, regardless of the Gunther outcome.
It does.
And that leads us to the final thought we want to leave you with, the thing to really mull over after this deep dive.
Okay.
Cena's career trajectory is arguably one of the most successful character evolutions in entertainment history. He went from the edgy, streetwise Thuganomics heel who pushed boundaries
Yeah.
to the widely respected, massive global star who commands hustle, loyalty, and above all, respect. He had to transcend years of that polarizing fan reaction and the initial wave of cynicism to become perhaps the most respected figure in the industry outside the ring.
And we see that reflected in the comments about all the wishes he made come true.
So consider this. What does Cena's ability to transcend that decade of polarizing reaction, sustain massive global fame, and pivot successfully to a new career teach us about the long-term value of sheer consistency, both in professional performance and in genuinely positive, high-profile engagement outside the ring? It is a masterclass in building an enduring legacy that lasts well beyond the final 3 count.
Indeed. Even if the catchphrase, "you can't see me," becomes all too real after December 13th, his legacy, as one fan noted, is simply forever.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the monumental farewell of John Cena. Until next time.